Hello, everyone, and welcome to CNW show, Creating a New World. This is season 2, episode 2, and actually episode 47 overall. And today is Friday, June 17th, 2016. I'm your host, Bill Hunsaker, and I'd like to welcome my co-host, Harry Dolgen. Welcome to the show, Harry.
Thanks, Bill. Episode 47. Boy, oh
Yep.
boy. It's amazing how time flies. Happy to be here. Hi, everybody.
So I decided to start off season 2 really. Last episode was where I explained why I was making the changes. So I decided to start off with the basics. So today's topics are going to be reality, perception, and integration. And now that they may sound like deep, complicated topics, but I'm not claiming to be an expert on any of these things. I just wanted to share my understanding of them and how they can help you, to live a better life, a prosperous, happy life. So we're going to start off with reality. Uh, from what I've seen, there's pretty much three major schools of thought on what reality is.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few others possibly, and there's some kind of variations on the three, but the main three are uh, 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 the idea that your thoughts create reality. That's number one. Number two is the idea that real reality we can't perceive directly. That this is kind of that what we do perceive is a indirect reflection of what real reality. This is kind of like the Plato idea of a higher reality. And then the third school of thought is that reality is what you perceive. It exists whether you're looking at it or whether you exist or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always the same. Now, I happen to believe the third thing. Or my understanding is that the third thing is what reality actually is. I mean, obviously the first idea that your thoughts create reality, that's the idea behind uh, the law of attraction, or the secret, as it's called. That whatever you think, the universe brings to you. I I can't imagine how my brain could have that power, and also that idea is based on uh, things that can't be measured directly. That no one's shown me an instrument that can measure the supposed energy that goes from your mind out and
Mm-hmm.
creates reality.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen that. I've heard people claim it, but they've never shown it to me.
Yeah.
So I've never seen that. And the other idea, the idea that there's a higher reality, or a reality that we can't perceive directly, that's the idea that a lot of religions are based on. That you have, you know, our life here on earth, and then there's life in heaven, which is like a higher reality. And that's what a lot of new wave consciousness beliefs are based on. That there's a higher reality, that you transcend this reality. Whereas to me, this is all we got. What's around us is all there is. What you can see, and there, that doesn't mean that just because that doesn't mean that what's behind the building you're standing in front of doesn't exist, because reality exists whether you're looking at it or not. But this is it. The earth we're on, what we see in the sky, that's reality.
Right.
And it's there. Now there's, all these scientific ideas which I accept because they've been checked and proven over and over again, that say that on a very small level, uh, on a uh, submicroscopic level, that matter is composed of just energy fields that interact with each other. But to me, that none of that matters, because when I touch the surface of a desk, or I wave my hand in the air and I feel the air, it feels solid, or it feels like air pushing against my hand. It whether or not it's actually fields interacting with each other, electromagnetic fields and other fields, doesn't matter, because what matters is the next thing I'm going into, which is perception. Now, even though the reality is there and it exists independent of, you know, any one of us who's looking at it,
Hmm.
it's the same. You don't look at something, turn away, look back, and then it's different suddenly, you know, unless something's acted on it. But it does. You don't look at the wall in front of you, turn away, and turn back, and the wall's gone.
Hmm.
You know, a breeze might shift something, and make it a little different, but big chunks of reality don't just disappear, in an instant. It's there, whether you're looking at it or not. But how you perceive it can be altered. Now,
By
there's
perceive, you mean how it goes through all your senses? Your
yes,
sight, the sound, smell,
mm-hmm.
and all the other two senses.
Now,
Touch, yeah.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, the way our brains handle information somewhat alters reality. Now, what I mean by that is the way your brain takes in the light that your eyes bring in, and then turns it into binocular vision, so you have depth perception and all that kind of stuff. That's, you know, that's slightly altered, and your mind can play tricks on you. And uh and so, you have to
That's
be
like
aware. You
right,
have to
right.
be aware of that, so that you don't get tripped up by it. And all you have to do is be aware of it.
Well, you're talking about out of death experiences where people believe they see light and they see God. That's
No,
really
that's different. That's different.
that's the brain
Talking,
is
but I'm talking about just the way the brain processes the light that comes into your eyes.
okay,
That's what I'm
okay,
talking about right now. We'll
okay.
talk about what you mentioned in a few
Yeah, well,
minutes.
that made me think about that. Bill.
Yeah, yeah. But right now we're talking about how your brain just processes the
Information.
information that your senses sends to it.
Okay.
And hearing, your brain, detects the sound coming in one ear, and then how long it takes the sound to come in the other ear, and the difference in how loud the sound is, to determine what direction the sound is coming from.
Okay.
And it's not as bad as the way the brain um, interprets your eyesight, but that can play some tricks on you too. Not quite as nearly as bad, but there are a few ways that can play tricks on you too.
Hmm.
And the other senses are less. You know, touch is pretty straightforward. I really consider taste and smell to be almost one sense, because if you suddenly can't smell, everything you put in your mouth is going to taste different,
Right.
because the smell is part of the taste,
Yeah,
and they
I
work
believe that's
together.
true. I agree with you there.
So they kind of work together. So that's just the simple physical way of the way your brain works.
Hmm.
In addition to that, what you believe, what you've been taught, and what you've accepted without question, can alter how you perceive reality. So that, you know, you have an experience. Maybe it's a hallucination. And especially if you have a really traumatic experience physically where you pass out, or you know you hit your head and get a concussion and you're passed out. If you have a really serious physical injury, what you experience, you know when you're conscious or partially conscious, can kind of get mixed together in your memory. And and when you're unconscious, you're not perceiving anything, or nothing, nothing that you're going to remember directly. And there's a difference between being asleep and unconscious also.
Mm.
So that but you know so that your mind tries to make sense of what it remembers of what happened when you were aware, partially unconscious, fully unconscious. And events can get mixed up in your memory to where you think you may have had an out of body experience, and to where when your brain is you've had a serious injury and your brain may be starved of oxygen for for a longer than normal period of time, then you would hallucinate. And because our brains are very similar, when these things happen, we hallucinate the same way. So then you have the common hallucination of seeing the light and going to the light, and those sort of things, that what's called a near-death experience. Now, I think that's a hallucination. Someone else may think something different about it.
Yeah, well, it changes their life.
Yeah,
So,
well,
they think it
hallucination can,
was they think they really did
well,
see God or a light or aliens. They were abducted by aliens. They believe that.
yeah,
But,
because they've been preconditioned to
yep,
expect that. They've
yep.
been told, that this exists, that God and heaven, that when you die, you're going to you're going to see your dead relatives, and all this stuff. They've been told that, and they believe it. So when they have this hallucination, then they fill in the details to fit that preconceived idea. And they don't do it on purpose. It's just the way our brains work. Our brains try to make sense of what we perceive. And it can also affect how you perceive a situation, how you perceive what somebody says. You know, it can affect that. And also it can affect your perception of a person based on their appearance, or or their actions. Uh, you know, I mean, if you've been taught all your life that it's man and woman, and anything else is an abomination and abnormal, then your perception is going to be that person is evil, even if they aren't doing anything to hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm,
That's what your perception is going to be.
mm-hmm.
And that's what we talk about in neothink when we talk about uh, mysticism. Now, mysticism is preconceived ideas that alter your perception, that give you an incorrect, false perception of the reality around you in many ways. I've just talked about a few examples of the ways that that ideas that you've accepted without questioning them, that are false, can alter your perception of reality, can alter how you perceive a situation, how you perceive people around you. All of this has to do with, because we're not we're not emotionless computers. We're not, data in, data out, and even computers aren't perfect. There's a phrase in computers called garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you get, you know, if you're given false information, then you get incorrect conclusions based on that false information. And all of this, and the point being here is that if you're not if you're not perceiving reality honestly and directly, perceiving, if you're not, as Mark Hamilton puts it, seeing what is there, seeing what is really there, then you're going to make bad decisions based on something you think is there but isn't really there. And that's how you fail in life, how you don't succeed. The only way to really succeed is to perceive the reality correctly and act accordingly. Otherwise, you're just going to continually make mistakes because you're getting incorrect information. And so every day you should be analyzing how you're perceiving things to be sure that you're actually perceiving what's really there and not something false that's going to create a problem for you, that's going to make you make incorrect decisions.
Well, that
And
comes
that's
that comes. My way of thinking is your personal responsibility is how you think, how you feel, how you act, and the consequences of your actions. Those are within your ability to do something about. Okay, you have to take responsibility for those things. All right, and the mysticism comes in where people blame other people for where they are in life and what happens to them. That's a big problem.
Yes,
That
it
goes on
is.
all the time, right? And people don't get it. People don't get it.
Yeah,
They,
but
you,
that's also because they've been taught, that's what they've been taught from when they were children, that, if something's going wrong, it's either the devil or it's, God's
somebody
turned
else.
against them, or somebody else
Yeah.
is making things not happen the way they want things to happen, whereas in reality those people are actually you know they're just not perceiving reality correctly.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to turn that. And in a future episode we're going to examine in detail, you know being a self leader and taking responsibility for your life. But that's not the topic at hand here,
Most
although it's
people.
it's a part of it and it's an aspect of it, because
Yeah.
part of perception is taking the responsibility to really examine, you know everything that you perceive, and examine it and make sure that you're not deceiving yourself
Oh yeah.
in some way,
Oh yeah.
that you're not being dishonest with yourself, and therefore creating not perceiving reality correctly, not understanding what's going on with you, and then making bad decisions because of that.
Right. Right. That's like your limiting beliefs. Right. You like your fortune telling and your
Hmm.
mind reading and your personalizing something. Those are all psychological things.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's more like mysticism. You know, all those things that you do. Like if I say to you, Bill, I know exactly what you're going to say
Right.
before you say it. All right, then I'm in this essence I'm mind reading and I'm fortune telling the results, which
Hmm.
some people do. My wife does that.
Hmm.
I say, Bev, she does it to me. I say, how do you know what I'm thinking? And you're wrong. I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah, and she may have some idea because of her association with you,
Yeah,
and has observed your
behavior
behavior,
and all that. Yeah,
and so then may have some data to predict what you may say or do in the future, but not absolute complete data where she can predict with 100% accuracy what you're going to
exactly.
say or do.
Exactly. But there's a big problem, and a lot of people do that.
Yes.
You know, like I'm going to finish your sentence. I know what you're going to say. I'm going to finish your sentence. All
Hmm.
right? Now, it's all ridiculous stuff, but we're all apt to doing this,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
And I've learned that, you know, I will get into a conversation, and next thing I know, I'm making assumptions and and starting to tell the other person what they should be thinking and doing. And I've caught myself doing that, and now I'm trying to teach myself to listen more and
Good point.
talk less
Good
and
point.
really get a full understanding of the situation before I respond, rather
Good
than
point.
just jumping in and giving advice without knowing what the situation actually
Because
is.
you don't want to listen. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard for me. It's hard for me to listen because
Mm-hmm.
I'll forget what I want to say. So then I might interrupt the person, like yourself, on the
Mm-hmm.
show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to forget my thought. So you're right. But again, 90% of the population has those psychological flaws. You know?
Yeah, and that's part of what we try to do within the Neothink Society is help people learn how to see reality as it is and not let what they're thinking, what they believe, and everything distort and change their perception of reality.
Good point. It's distorted thinking, is what it's really called.
Hmm.
Good point. Yeah, that's what Neil think right. Self leadership, which is integrating your thoughts, taking 100% responsibility for everything you do.
Hmm.
That's the basis of it, isn't it? Right?
Yes. And that's so, instead of just saying, okay, everything's going wrong because other people are messing with me, other people are,
Yeah.
you know, trying to stop me from doing what I want to do, or the devil's out to get me, or, God's turned against me, or,
Yeah.
ultimately it's all you. It's all a result of decisions you've made and actions that you've taken.
But that's a hard realization for many people.
Yes, it is.
And I sometimes stop. I mean, I'm getting better at it, but there's still some parts of me, some days, that want to blame the events, the outside events in my life and the people in my life for where I am. So you're right. I have to catch myself doing
Hmm.
that
I
and
mean,
stop.
there are things that are out of your control, but a lot of people, you know, don't take responsibility for things that are in their control.
Good point. That's true. That's absolutely
And,
true.
people may say, well, the situation's out of hand and that I have no control over it, but you made decisions and took actions that put you in that situation.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's what they fail to understand. You're right.
Yeah. So, what I'm trying to say with this is that you have to perceive, you have to really examine and think about how you're perceiving what's happening, you know, and learn how to do this quickly because, if somebody's coming at you with a knife, you can't take a 5 minute think about it. You
Yeah,
have to
right.
react. And that's part of perceiving and understanding reality. And we'll get into in more depth in a future show, but also preparing and being prepared for for situations like that and how you're going to handle that. You know, me right now, the first thing I have to do to get prepared is to get healthier and in better shape. And I've begun to work on that, but that's part of it. So you have to perceive your situation correctly and then make a decision based on you know, your your understanding of the situation. Sometimes you have to make a quick decision. Other times you have time to really think about it and consider all the options before you make a decision. But the point is, you have to be able to gather all the information and gather it correctly and not distort it and filter it and change it by the ideas in your head.
Yeah,
You have to learn to really really take in reality.
Yeah.
And that brings us uh, to the third topic, which is integration.
Explain that to people, because that
Yeah.
integration is a they probably thinking of it as a differently than what
Well,
it
there are
really
many
means.
definitions of the word, but we're talking about thinking. We're
It has to
talking
do with
about how
thinking.
you use your mind.
Okay.
So, you're perceiving reality. All kinds of data is coming into your mind. What you see, what you hear, to a lesser extent, what you feel,
Feel,
what you taste, what you
smell,
smell. All of
look,
this information is coming in, and you have to bring it together as a whole without changing it or altering it. And what,
right.
because they talk about it this way: one piece of information, like the wall in my room is kind of a tan color. 1%, that's called a perception, a precept. That's like, I look out the window, the grass is green. That's a precept. Now you bring that together with another precept,
Precept.
another piece of information, and you come up with a concept. The grass is green, it's getting kind of dark, and I can see what time it is because I have clocks all around me, digital clocks, but clocks. It must be evening. That's a concept. You know, you bring the information together and you bring concepts together to form more concepts until you're building a picture of the reality around you. And
Interesting.
that's I mean, and the picture isn't only what you see and hear, and not only what your senses are bringing in, but your prior knowledge of, because just by looking out the window, I can't tell whether it's June 17th or July 5th or August 3rd. Although the grass tends to be a little more brown by August, you know, it's pretty green right now.
But it's June 17th when we're taping the show, so
Yes, it
for
is.
everybody in the
Yeah, and but you can't, you know, you have to bring in knowledge that you already have in your head and put it together with what you're perceiving around you. And that knowledge also has to be accurate. So you have to you know question and confirm all the ideas in your head. And I've done a lot of that, especially in the past year or two, and in the past 10 years and in the past 20 years, more and more up to this point. I've learned more and more, and learned that a lot of ideas that I thought were true and correct, and a lot of things I was taught when I went to school as a child, just aren't correct. That you know they're ideas that were given to me to give me a certain mindset so that I would act a certain way that
right.
would quite honestly benefit other people. And we'll get more into depth into that in a few future episode too.
But what you're saying is percepts. You're trying to take a percept and making many percepts and combining it into a concept.
Right.
But most people, what, have three or four thoughts? Very hard to do.
Yes, it is.
Extremely hard to do. Because
It
every people think in terms of percepts.
it
People
ta-
don't think in terms of
yeah.
concepts.
It takes a lot of work to perceive reality and take the information you bring in from reality to help you make decisions. It's a lot easier to just sit on the couch and watch TV and think whatever they tell you to think on the TV.
Exactly right.
It's a lot easier to
Exactly
do
right.
that than it is to think for yourself and really figure out what is, what is real and what is not real, what actually exists and what doesn't exist. And that's the whole point of that's that's what our brains are made to do. Unfortunately, we're taught not to use our brains. We're
Right.
taught to do what we're told. We're taught
Exactly.
to obey, to
Obey.
to
Follow authority.
to accept, you know, to accept authority, to do what we're told and not think for ourselves.
Well, that comes into the whole thing of sacrifice. Sacrifice, they try to say, is good, right? We're
Yeah,
saying selfishness is better. It's good to be selfish and
yes, it
not to
is,
sacrifice.
but it's not good to be so selfish that because and this is part of perceiving the reality around you is that in reality what's best for you is also best for the people around you too.
Good point.
If because we need each other. That's the bottom line. We need each other. No man, someone famously said no man is an island.
Right.
I mean, especially in the modern world, without all the people around you, you can't survive. If
Right.
suddenly everybody vanished, you know, how would you get food? You know, how would you produce electricity?
Right.
You know, how would you do that?
But
You
what we're
know,
trying to build, what we're trying to do is help ourselves first and then help other people, not the other way around,
yeah.
basically.
And the fact is that helping ourselves includes helping other people because we need them and they need us in order
Okay.
to live a prosperous, happy life. I mean, you
Okay.
can you can have ideas and you can create things, but if you can't trade it for other things, how are you going to live a happy, prosperous life? How are you going to get the things that you want, that you need to survive, and that you want to be happy? How are you going to get those if there's nobody else producing and creating products and services to trade with you? So you need everyone around you, and that's part of this integration is integrating other people into what you're doing.
Hmm.
That's you have internal integration where you put ideas together to create bigger ideas until you have this you know until you have this mental picture of the world you want to live in. And then you have external integration where you interact with other people, where you create and trade values, whether those values are products or services, and where you cooperate to create greater values. But all of this comes, that's external integration. That's integrating with other people. And that's part of the concept that I want to talk about is you have the internal integration where you're bringing together the information that your senses are bringing to you and combining it with your own thoughts and ideas. Some people like to call them beliefs, but I have a problem with the word belief, which I've stated before on this
Yeah.
show, but I'll state it again
Yeah.
briefly. I mean, to me, first of all, if you believe something, then you give up control over that. If you believe a certain thing, you give up control over that to someone else because you're accepting what they're telling you without examining it. Some people, I mean, I use the word think in place of believe in the way that I think this is how it is. And also, when you believe something, you tend to cling to it because there's an emotional part of belief.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that we should all be emotionless. Emotions are part of who we are, but we have to properly integrate the emotions into our, our minds and our worldview, if you want to use that term. you know we have to integrate those emotions, and we also have to have control of them so that they don't control us, because a lot of people let their emotions control them, especially anger.
Oh yeah.
you know but they let other emotions control them too, and that's not how you can live a prosperous life. If you let your emotions control you, when you're under the control of those emotions, you make bad decisions, and you take actions that are going to cost you.
I know you said something on previous shows. I don't believe in anything. State that
hmm
again.
Yeah, that's where I was leading up to, but
Okay.
I
I didn't
wanted
know
to
that.
explain about why I don't like
Okay.
the term belief. I
Okay. I didn't know
consider
that.
belief and faith to be synonyms,
Yeah,
to have the same definition,
I agree.
because people often say I believe in something, or I have faith in something, interchangeably.
And they don't see the proof, or
And
they
they
don't ask
when they and they're not
where's the
always,
evidence?
and they're not always talking about religion when they use those words, both of
Yeah,
them.
right.
Yeah, some people try to take faith and make it just religion, and belief and make it something else, but to me they're the same thing. So
Believe.
anyway, as I've
Yeah.
said before, I don't believe anything. I know and understand things to a greater or lesser degree of certainty. And I'm going to add
That's a
one little
safe
bit to
statement.
that, that
Safe.
if someone presents me with evidence that I find credible and accept, that will alter what I know and understand.
Okay. So you leave the word belief and faith out
Yeah, because to me,
completely.
if you believe something, then you're emotionally attached to it, and you would tend to resist, even in the face of evidence, tend to resist changing that belief.
I love that. I love that term.
Yep. And I also don't believe in anything. I value things to the extent that they are good for me.
Yeah.
So I don't, I find value in things, but I don't believe in them, because, you know, all the time you hear people in movies and stuff saying, I believe in you, which means they're going to accept whatever they do, no matter what it is.
Good point.
You
So
know,
I value the things that you say.
I value what you
You
say
don't
and
say I
do.
don't believe. Don't say I believe in you.
Yeah, I
Okay.
value you. I value what you think and say, and therefore, you know, I appreciate it, but I don't believe in it. You know, and if someone's talking about a cause, you know, to me, I look at it and evaluate it. Is this something that's going to help me and help the people around me and make the world a better place? Therefore, I value it and appreciate it and accept it. But I'm not going to say I believe in it, because, again, you know, you get anytime you talk about belief or faith, you're giving up control over
Well,
something.
what you're talking about is morality. The definition of morality is there's a term in neothink, right? They say it's something that's good for you and benefits everybody else. That's moral. If it's not good
But
for you
the
and it
point
doesn't
is,
benefit other people, then it's immoral.
and the point is, if it's good for you, it's also good for everyone else. That's the point. If something's just good for you, but not good for everyone else, that's immoral.
Okay, so morality is
You
good
know,
for you and good for everybody
for
else.
instance, robbing someone might be good for you,
Yeah,
because you end up with more money or something else of value, but it's not good for the other person.
that you
And
rob.
in the long
Yeah,
run, it may not be good for you, because they may take revenge, or the authorities may come and get you, and then you'll lose your freedom and probably lose the thing that you stole. So in the long run, it's not good for you. In the short run, it may be good, because you get something you want, but there are consequences.
Hmm.
There are always consequences. But depending on what you say or do, the consequences may be good, bad, or good.
Right.
And you have to bring all this together. And, that's what integration is.
Yeah.
To me, integration is understanding. You know, it's it's understanding and knowing. Yeah, knowing what you're bringing everything together so that you have a complete picture of the world around you, or as complete as possible. You can never have a 100% complete picture because there are always factors either that you don't think of or change from what you originally perceived them to be.
Right.
Things, the world isn't a static picture. It's a moving picture. Things are always happening. The weather is changing, the plants are growing, people are moving, other people are making decisions and taking actions. It's a constantly changing, moving thing, not a static thing. You can't look at it once and then figure it out. You got to keep paying attention to notice the changes. That's part of the integration too.
Yeah. It's
It's
like
it's
the
notice. Yeah.
scientific theory. Scientific theory is what you're subscribing to a lot, right? Pretty much.
Well,
You
yes and
observe
no.
things, and then
Yeah,
you make
you
a
test them.
hypothesis,
Yeah,
and then
you,
you prove the hypothesis
yeah.
in
You
this
observe
way or that.
something, and then you get an idea about it, and you make a hypothesis and say this is why this is, and then you observe more and see if
See what
the
the
what
evidence
you
is.
observe continues to match with the hypothesis, the idea you had about why that is.
Yeah.
And then if it continues to show that you're right, then you just continue to observe. You don't just come to it and say, okay, that's it. I can live the rest of my life with that understanding. No, you have to continue to observe, continue to perceive, continue to integrate.
Yeah. Interesting. That makes me think of the term honesty and truth, right? They're
Hmm.
different,
Yes, they
right?
are.
Honesty. Would you rather be truthful or would you rather be honest? I guess it depends on the situation,
Well,
right?
I always say I'd rather be truthful. I'd rather, well, I'm sorry, I'd rather be honest, because what's true depends on your
Perception.
perception.
Yeah.
But honest is basically taking what's your current understanding and communicating it, or taking action based on your current understanding, and doing the best you can not to allow preconceived ideas to alter that understanding. And that's the whole point of this. The way to prosper and live happily, to have a happy life and a free life, is to perceive reality, to look at what is there, not assume what's there or say this is what should be there,
Make
but
your
look
thoughts. Your
look at
thoughts
what
can't
is
create.
there.
Yeah. You can't. Right. You can't create reality. Yeah. Your thoughts.
No, reality exists. You
Look
have to
up.
perceive it, integrate it, and act on your understanding of it.
Interesting. Really very interesting topic. I tell you. Very interesting. Yeah. It makes me think, Bill. It makes me think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And hopefully our listeners will think also. When I'm done, probably at some point this weekend, uh, I'm going to put up a topic in both the Facebook CNW show page and in the Google Plus CNW community about the topics we discussed on the show. And I want to hear everyone's perspective. Everyone who listens to this, I want to hear your perspective. I want to hear what you think reality is. I want to hear what you think perception is and integration, and how, what you think, you need to do in order to live a happy and prosperous and happy life. And, you know, I want a discussion. I don't want to sit here and tell you what is reality. You may have information that I don't have. And I'm as open to learning from you as I hope you're open to learning from me. You know, I'm not coming on here saying I have the truth. No, this is my current understanding of how this works.
Yeah, yeah. But right now, the world we
Mm-hmm.
live in pretty much
Mm-hmm.
is based on the fact that us as human beings are controlled by some external authority
Mm-hmm.
or government, and we're pretty much forced to serve
Mm-hmm.
others
And
or
that
all the
and that
world.
and that people have to be controlled, or they're
Right.
gonna go crazy and rob and steal and kill and murder and rape and all that. Whereas the majority of people are very peaceful people who just want to
Absolutely.
cooperate and get along. You know,
Absolutely. Interesting.
but this perception has been created that people are have to be controlled or they're going to hurt you. No, it's when you try to control people that and they lash out that people get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Unfortunately, we're the 1%.
Hmm.
99% of the population are still following external authority
Hmm.
and want to, and they desire it because they figure they're going to go to heaven, all right, and they have a burden of life. So, they're not happy. So,
So I just at this point I just want to say, you know, to anyone who listens to watches this or listens to it, you know, if you value what I'm doing here, consider, first of all, tell people about it. Say you tell them, why you like it, why you think it's of value, and you know, tell them that they should check it out and see why themselves. First of all, so talk to your friends and family about it if you find it of value. And second of all, help us out because there are costs, you know, in doing this show, and and I consider, my time to be of value and Harry's time to be of value. And if you feel that it's valuable to you, consider exchanging value with us in the form of, financial support. You can go to patreon.com and pledge $1 an episode or more if you wish. And all of that will help us continue to bring this show and improve it and make it better. Also, tell us what you think of the show. Tell us what you think of the ideas that we've talked about on today's show. Let us know. Tell us what you'd like us to talk about in future episodes. This is, I don't want to do this just to talk and have my voice and face recorded. I want this to be of value to someone. So I would love to hear feedback and let me know what you found of value, what you didn't find of value, and what you would like to hear about in future episodes. Also, I'm looking for co-hosts.
yeah, I was about
Anyone?
to say that, Bill.
Yeah,
People can come
anyone?
on the panel.
Yeah, you can come on and share your perceptions and ideas about the topics we discuss directly with us on the show. I mean, all you need is a webcam and a microphone, and most laptops nowadays are equipped with both, you know, and or you can use your phone, although I'd prefer someone to use a computer because, a phone can be a little shaky unless you have it in some kind of stand, and phones still aren't as powerful as a laptop or a computer either. But I would welcome anyone on the show. I'm, like I said, I'm not, to me, this is my current understanding of these topics, but I'm open to new information, to new perspectives, to new, I'm not going to accept any ideas that are shared with me without really thinking about them and examining them, you know, but I'm open to discussion about these ideas, and I want to discuss them with everyone. And hopefully we can start a discussion on Facebook and Google Plus, and hopefully we can talk about these things out. Maybe I'll learn something, maybe you'll learn something. That's what I'm trying to do now with this show. And on that note, I'm going to thank everyone who watches or listens to the show, and I'd like to thank Harry for coming on the show and talking with me. Thank you, Harry. Your
Well, you know,
questions.
this is very stimulating. The interaction is thought-provoking, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a lot of fun. So people, come and post. Come on
Yep.
Facebook. Come on Google Plus. All
Yeah,
right.
if you're interested in coming on the show, either post on Facebook or Google Plus on the CNW show, or send me an email at cnwshow@gmail.com. So once again, thank you, Harry, and we're
Oh,
going to
enjoyed it.
close it
Thank you,
out.
Bill.
Um, Again, I want to thank all the viewers, and I want to remind you that if you have any questions or comments, either send them to cnwshow@gmail.com, or like us on Facebook and comment on the Facebook page, or join our Google Plus community and comment or ask your questions there. You can support the show by telling your family and friends about it. You can also support the show by going to www.patreon.com/creatinganewworld and pledging $1 or more per episode. All opinions expressed on the show are the sole responsibility of the individual participants and do not represent the Neothink Society, the 12 Visions Party, or author Mark Hamilton. Creating a New World is a product of Integrated Values, LLC. I wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and freedom.
Bye-bye, everybody.